Eliza was a woman with everything anyone could ever dream of. She had wealth, power, and influence, but deep inside, she felt lonely. Everyone around her wanted something: her money, her name, or her connections. No one saw her heart or cared about who she truly was. One evening, as she sat by her grand window staring at the city lights, an idea struck her. What if I leave it all behind? What if I find someone who loves me for me? The thought gave her hope. Eliza decided to hide her true identity. She packed a small bag, dressed in simple clothes, and moved to a new part of the city where no one knew her. She introduced herself simply as Eliza, a seamstress who made dresses for a living. One day, while running errands, she met Michael. Michael was a hard-working trader who sold spices and fabrics. He was tall and charming, with a laugh that could brighten any room. But life hadn't been easy for him. His small business was struggling, and he was barely making enough to get by. Michael was immediately drawn to Eliza. She was kind, soft-spoken, and always willing to listen. Eliza, too, admired Michael's determination and honesty. He didn't know who she really was, and that made her feel safe. They spent more and more time together, walking through the streets, sharing their dreams, and laughing about little things. Michael confessed his struggles to her, and Eliza encouraged him, saying, "You'll make it one day. You just need someone who believes in you." In time, their love blossomed. Michael proposed to Eliza with a simple ring, and she said yes. They got married in a small private ceremony and started their life together. Michael worked hard to grow his business, but unknown to him, Eliza was secretly helping him. She called upon her old connections to ensure he got better deals. She even used her wealth to pay off debts he didn't know about, but she never told him the truth. She wanted him to feel proud of his achievements. Soon, Michael's business began to flourish. He gained new customers, made big profits, and started earning more than he ever dreamed of. At first, he was grateful. "Eliza, you've been my good luck charm," he would say, holding her close. But as time went on, Michael started to change. Success filled him with pride, and he began to think it was all his doing. "I've worked so hard for this," he would say to his friends, forgetting to mention Eliza's quiet support. The more successful he became, the less time he spent with Eliza. He started staying out late, meeting new people, and throwing lavish parties. At first, Eliza thought he was just busy with work, but soon she noticed he was avoiding her. He stopped asking how her day was and barely noticed her anymore. Some nights, he wouldn't come home at all. When she asked where he had been, he would shrug and say, "Just handling business." But Eliza began hearing whispers, rumors of Michael being seen with other women at fancy dinners and parties. One evening, Michael came home past midnight, smelling of perfume that wasn't hers. Eliza sat waiting for him, her eyes filled with quiet hurt. "Where have you been?" she asked softly. Michael waved her off. "Out. Don't start questioning me, Eliza. I'm tired." Tears welled in her eyes, but she swallowed them. She loved him deeply, but the man she had married seemed to be disappearing. The nights grew colder, and so did Michael. He began coming home less and less. On some nights, he wouldn't return at all. Eliza would sit by the window, staring at the empty street, wondering what had gone wrong. She tried to talk to him, to remind him of the love they once shared, but he was always too busy. "You don't understand," he snapped one day. "I'm building something big here. I don't have time for these little complaints." Eliza's heart broke more with each passing day. The man who once held her hand and dreamed of a simple life now seemed like a stranger. And the women, she knew about them. She had seen the letters hidden in his pocket, heard his whispered phone calls when he thought she wasn't listening. Still, she said nothing. She hoped deep down that Michael would remember the love they shared and come back to her. But as time went on, it became clear. Michael's pride had taken over, and he no longer valued her. Whenever a friend invited Michael to a party, he never thought of taking Eliza. Instead, he would bring one of his girlfriends, parading her around like a prize. Eliza would stay home, pretending she didn't care, but inside she was crumbling. One evening, Michael's closest friend, Jonathan, noticed the change in him. At a lavish party, Michael was laughing loudly with a young woman on his arm, while Jonathan watched from a distance. He couldn't keep quiet anymore. "Michael," Jonathan said, pulling him aside, "can I talk to you for a moment?" Michael frowned but followed him to a quieter corner. "What's up, brother?" Jonathan folded his arms. "What you are doing is wrong, Michael. You are married, but you're out here acting like you don't even have a wife. Eliza is at home while you're parading around with women who don't care about you." Michael's face twisted in irritation. "Why do you care, Jonathan?" "Eliza's boring. She doesn't fit in with this life. She's too plain, too local. Look at her and look at me. Do you really think we belong together?" Jonathan shook his head, stunned. "Eliza is the kindest, most selfless woman I've ever met. She's your wife, Michael. She stood by you when you had nothing." Michael smirked, leaning against the wall. "If you like her so much, Jonathan, you can have her. She's all yours." Jonathan's jaw dropped. "You must be mad, Michael. How can you say that about your own wife?" Michael shrugged. "She's a burden to me now. I don't need her anymore." Jonathan took a step back, disgusted. "You're blinded by your pride and your so-called success. One day, Michael, you'll regret this." Michael waved him off, laughing. "Save your lectures, Jonathan. I'm doing just fine." Michael stormed into the house that evening, slamming the door behind him so hard that it shook the frame. His face was twisted with anger, and Eliza, who had been folding clothes in the living room, looked up in surprise. "Michael, what's wrong?" she asked, sensing his fury. He pointed an accusing finger at her, his voice loud and sharp. "Don't act innocent with me, Eliza. I know you've been running your mouth to Jonathan about our marriage." Eliza frowned, genuinely confused. "What are you talking about? I didn't tell Jonathan anything." Michael laughed bitterly, pacing the room like a restless lion. "Don't lie to me, Eliza. He came to me with all this nonsense about how I'm treating you. Who else would tell him if not you?" Eliza stood, her heart heavy but her voice calm. "Michael, I haven't spoken to Jonathan. He probably noticed things on his own. You don't even hide it anymore." But Michael wasn't listening. He waved her words away as if they were meaningless. "I don't care what you say. You've made me look like a fool in front of my friends. But guess what? I have had enough of this." Eliza's chest tightened as she tried to make sense of his words. "Enough of what, Michael? What are you trying to say?" He turned to her, his face cold and unfeeling. "I'm saying I'll soon bring my girlfriend into this house. She's classy, beautiful, and exactly the kind of woman I deserve. If you are tired of me, Eliza, you can pack your things and leave." Eliza felt as though the ground had been pulled out from under her. Her hands shook as she clutched the back of the couch for support. "Michael, how can you say that? I'm your wife. I stood by you when you had nothing." Michael crossed his arms, staring at her without a hint of remorse. "And I'm grateful for that, but let's face it, Eliza, you've let yourself go. Look at you. You don't dress nicely anymore. You don't wear makeup. Even when I buy you beautiful clothes and cosmetics, you just let them sit there. You don't even try to look good for me." Tears welled up in Eliza's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Michael," she whispered, "what do you see in those women that I don't have? What is it about them that makes you treat me like this?" Michael laughed, his words cutting deeper than any blade. "They're everything you're not, Eliza. They're confident, stylish, and exciting. You have become boring, plain, ugly even." Eliza gasped softly, the word ugly echoing in her mind like a cruel taunt. She had given up so much for him, her wealth, her comfort, her dreams. And now he was throwing it all back in her face. "Ugly," she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. "Michael, do you even hear yourself? Do you know what I have sacrificed for you?" Michael shrugged as if her pain meant nothing. "Sacrifices don't mean much if you can't keep up with my new life. I've outgrown you, Eliza. You either adapt or you leave." Simple Eliza stared at him, her heart breaking into pieces. How had the man she loved turned into this stranger? She thought of all the sleepless nights she had spent supporting him, the quiet ways she had ensured his success, and the love she had poured into their marriage. "Michael," she said softly, tears now streaming down her face, "you have forgotten who you are. But more than that, you've forgotten who I am." Michael rolled his eyes and grabbed his car keys. "I don't have time for this emotional nonsense. If you're tired, Eliza, pack your bags. You're free to leave." With that, he walked out of the house, leaving Eliza standing there, shattered. She sank onto the couch, her hands covering her face as sobs racked her body. Eliza sat quietly at a luxurious restaurant, stirring her glass of orange juice without drinking it. Across from her sat her closest friend, Rebecca, a confident and wealthy woman who always seemed to know what to say. Rebecca leaned back in her chair, studying Eliza with a mix of concern and frustration. "Eliza," Rebecca began, shaking her head, "just look at yourself. You're tired, you are stressed, and for what? A man who doesn't even appreciate you. When are you going to stop this?" Eliza sighed, avoiding Rebecca's piercing gaze. "It's not that simple, Rebecca. You know I love him." Rebecca folded her arms, her tone firm. "Love isn't supposed to make you miserable, Eliza. Look at the way you look now. When was the last time you did something for yourself? You spend all your time worrying about Michael, while he's out there embarrassing you with those other women." Eliza's eyes dropped to her lap. Rebecca's words hurt because they were true. She had neglected herself, hoping that Michael would eventually come back to her. "You don't understand, Rebecca," Eliza said softly. "Michael was not always like this. He used to be kind, caring, someone I could trust. I keep hoping that man will come back." Rebecca rolled her eyes, clearly unimpressed. "And how long are you going to keep hoping? How much longer will you let him walk all over you? Eliza, you've done enough. You've given him everything, your time, your love, even your money. And how has he repaid you? By treating you like you're invisible." Eliza clenched her fists under the table, trying to hold back tears. She hated feeling so weak, but Rebecca's words were hitting all the places she had been trying to ignore. Rebecca leaned forward, her voice softer now. "Eliza, listen to me. You are a beautiful, smart, and amazing woman. You don't need Michael to see that for it to be true. If he doesn't appreciate you, then maybe it's time you left him. Find your happiness somewhere else." Eliza finally looked up, her face a mix of pain and determination. "I know you mean well, Rebecca, and I appreciate you, but I can't leave, at least not yet." Rebecca raised an eyebrow. "Not yet? Why question mark? What are you waiting for, Eliza? What could possibly keep you with him after everything he's done?" Eliza took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. "I have one more test for him," she said firmly. "After that, I will know. If he fails this, then I will rest. I will just walk away and never look back." Rebecca's eyes widened in disbelief. "Another test? Eliza, haven't you tested him enough? He's failed every single one of them." Eliza shook her head. "This one is different. I need to see if there's any part of the man I married left in him. If there's even a glimmer of the love we once had. After this, I'll know for sure." Rebecca sighed, frustrated but understanding. "You're too good for your own good, Eliza. But fine, do what you need to do. Just promise me one thing." "What's that?" Eliza asked. "Promise me that no matter what happens, you'll take care of yourself. Enough of putting Michael first. It's time you put yourself first for a change." Eliza gave a small, sad smile. "I promise, Rebecca. After this, I'll make things right for myself." Rebecca reached across the table and held Eliza's hand. "You deserve so much better than this, my friend. I just hope you see it soon." Michael stormed into the house that evening, his face red with anger. He slammed the door so hard that it echoed through the house, startling Eliza, who was sitting quietly in the living room. She looked up from her sewing, confused by his sudden rage. "Michael, what's wrong?" she asked gently, though her voice carried a trace of worry. Michael didn't answer immediately. He threw his car keys onto the table and turned to face her, his eyes blazing with accusations. "How do you know a wealthy woman, Eliza? Are you trying to sleep your way to a better life now?" Eliza froze, stunned by his words. "What? Michael, what are you talking about?" He stepped closer, pointing an accusing finger at her. "Don't play innocent with me. I heard you were seen at an expensive restaurant, laughing and eating like you're some high-class woman. How could you afford that, huh? Tell me." Eliza's heart sank. She realized someone must have seen her with Rebecca and reported back to Michael. She tried to keep her voice calm. "Michael, the lady you're talking about is my friend, Rebecca. She invited me to lunch. She paid for everything." Michael scoffed, his tone dripping with disbelief. "Friend? A wealthy woman like that doesn't make friends with people like you, Eliza. Don't lie to me." Eliza felt a sharp sting in her chest at his cruel words. "Why would I lie about something like that, Michael? Rebecca is just a friend who cares about me. She wanted to spend time with me, that's all." Michael laughed bitterly, pacing the room like a man who had already decided the truth in his mind. A woman like her would never be friends with someone like you unless she wanted something. So what is it? Are you doing favors for her? Or maybe she's paying you to act like her project? Tears welled up in Eliza's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Michael, I don't know what you're trying to say, but Rebecca is my friend. She doesn't want anything from me. She likes me for who I am." Michael shook his head, his expression hard. "Who you are? Eliza, wake up. Look at you. What could someone like her possibly see in you? You don't have money, you don't have class, and you definitely don't have anything special to offer. So tell me, why would she waste her time with you?" Eliza's hands trembled as she clutched the edge of the chair. His words cut deep, but this was not the first time he had belittled her. Still, hearing it again, especially after all she had done for him, made her chest ache. "Michael," she said softly, "I have always supported you. I've stood by you through everything. And now, just because I have one friend who happens to be wealthy, you think the worst of me." Michael rolled his eyes and crossed his arms. "It's not about the friend, Eliza. It's about you thinking you can act like you belong in a world you'll never fit into. You've let some rich woman fill your head with nonsense." Eliza took a deep breath, trying to control her emotions. "Rebecca is my friend because she sees me for who I am, Michael. She doesn't judge me or put me down like you do." Michael's face hardened. "Don't turn this around on me, Eliza. I know your type. You're trying to act above your station, and it's embarrassing. Don't forget who you are. And who made you what you are today?" Eliza's mouth fell open in shock. She stared at him, unable to believe what she was hearing. "Who made me what I am today?" she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. "Michael, if that's what you truly believe, then maybe you've forgotten everything I have done for you." Michael waved her off. "Save your speech, Eliza. I don't have time for this. I'm heading out. Maybe spend some time thinking about where you really belong while I'm gone." He walked out without another word, slamming the door behind him. Eliza sank back onto the couch, her chest heaving with silent sobs. His words replayed in her mind, each one heavier than the last, but as she wiped her tears away, a spark of determination lit within her. She had given Michael everything, but it was clear he had no idea who she truly was. One thing was certain, his time to learn the truth was fast approaching. Michael had been waiting for a breakthrough in his business for years. His once small company was finally gaining traction, but the big contract he had been dreaming of still felt just out of reach. Day after day, he prayed for an opportunity that would take him to the top, and one ordinary afternoon, the call finally came. The phone rang loudly, breaking the silence of his office. Michael grabbed it quickly, his heart racing. "Hello, is this Mr. Michael?" a deep, confident voice asked. "Yes, this is Michael speaking," he replied, sitting up straighter in his chair. "Good afternoon, sir. I'm calling to inform you that you've been shortlisted for the contract with the royal family," the man said. "It's the opportunity you've been waiting for." Michael froze, barely believing his ears. This was the deal he had dreamed of, a deal big enough to change his life forever. "Are you serious?" he asked, his voice trembling with excitement. "Very serious," the man replied. "Congratulations, sir. However, there is one final step. The king's first daughter, the princess, will need to personally approve and sign the contract. She has requested to meet you, but there is one condition. You must bring your wife along." Michael's heart sank slightly at the mention of his wife. He forced a smile through the phone. "Of course, that's no problem at all." "Great," the man said. "The meeting is in 3 days. Please come prepared." When the call ended, Michael sat still for a moment, his thoughts racing. He should have been thrilled, but instead he was filled with worry. He couldn't picture Eliza attending such an important meeting. She didn't fit the image he wanted to portray. Her plain clothes and simple demeanor were far from the glamorous partner he imagined walking into the royal estate with. Then an idea popped into his head. "Veronica," he muttered under his breath. His girlfriend, Veronica, was everything he thought a successful man's wife should look like. Glamorous, stylish, and confident, she was the perfect person to impress the princess. Without hesitation, Michael called Veronica. "Hello, Michael," Veronica answered, her voice as smooth as silk. "Babe, I have some amazing news," Michael said, his voice bubbling with excitement. "I just got the chance to land the contract of my dreams." "That's wonderful, darling," Veronica said. "How can I help you celebrate?" "Well," Michael said, lowering his voice, "there's one thing. I need you to pretend to be my wife for the signing meeting. It's a royal contract, and I have to bring someone impressive." Veronica laughed. "Oh, darling, you are so naughty. Of course I will do it. Anything for you. Just tell me what to wear." "Something stunning," Michael said, grinning. Later that evening, Michael came home, his excitement barely hidden. Eliza was in the living room, knitting a scarf. She looked up at him with a warm smile. "You look happy," she said. "What's the good news?" Michael hesitated. "Oh, it's nothing. Just had a good day at work," he lied, waving her question away. Eliza frowned slightly. "Michael, it's been a while since you came home this happy. Are you sure it's nothing big?" Michael forced a laugh. "Just business stuff, Eliza. You wouldn't understand." Eliza's smile faltered, but she didn't press further. She had grown used to Michael brushing her off when it came to important matters. Over the next few days, Michael prepared for the meeting with the princess. He bought a brand new suit and a fancy tie, and he made sure Veronica had the perfect dress to wear. The morning of the meeting arrived. Michael left the house early, telling Eliza he had to attend an important work event. She watched him drive away, her heart heavy with worry. Michael arrived at Veronica's apartment, his heart pounding with excitement. She stepped out in a stunning gold dress, her hair perfectly styled, and her makeup flawless. She looked exactly how Michael wanted the world to see him, a man with class and sophistication. "You look amazing," Michael said, his eyes shining. "I always do," Veronica replied with a sly smile as she slid into the passenger seat of his car. As they drove to the royal meeting, Michael felt unstoppable. This was the moment he had been waiting for, and he believed he had planned everything perfectly. Michael stepped into the grand royal hall, his heart pounding with excitement. The palace was magnificent, with high ceilings, glittering chandeliers, and walls adorned with gold. Veronica clung to his arm, looking around in awe. She whispered, "Michael, this place is beyond beautiful. I feel like a queen already." Michael gave a confident smile, though his palms were sweating. This was the moment he had been waiting for, a chance to secure the contract of a lifetime. He believed his plan was flawless. As they were ushered into the meeting room, the king sat at the head of a long, ornate table, his presence commanding and regal. Michael bowed deeply, feeling slightly intimidated. "Your Majesty," Michael greeted, his voice steady but full of respect. "It's an honor to be here." The king nodded. "Welcome, Mr. Michael. I've heard great things about your business. I understand you've worked hard to get here." "Thank you, Your Majesty," Michael said, his chest swelling with pride. The king's eyes then shifted to Veronica, standing beside Michael. "And who is this with you?" Michael hesitated for the briefest moment before forcing a smile. "This is my wife," he said confidently. The king's eyebrows raised slightly and his tone sharpened. "Your wife? Are you sure?" Michael's smile faltered. "Yes, Your Majesty. She is my wife," he repeated, trying to sound convincing. The king studied Veronica for a long moment before repeating, "This is your wife?" "Yes," Michael replied, his palms beginning to sweat. The king said nothing, but leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. As Michael presented his business proposal, the king interrupted him twice, asking, "Are you sure this is your wife?" Michael's frustration grew, but he kept a polite smile. "Yes, Your Majesty. I assure you, this is my wife." The king exchanged a knowing glance with one of the royal advisors, but said nothing more. Michael grew more uneasy with each passing minute, but he forced himself to focus. After finishing his presentation, Michael cleared his throat and asked cautiously, "Your Majesty, may I ask when the princess will be joining us?" "I was told she would sign the contract." The king gave a small smile. "Patience, Mr. Michael. She will be here shortly." "Please, wait." Minutes turned into an hour, and Michael grew restless. He whispered to Veronica, "Where is she? This is taking too long." Finally, the doors swung open. Everyone turned to see who it was. Michael stood up, his heart racing, expecting to see a royal stranger. But his jaw dropped when he saw Eliza walk into the room, dressed in a breathtaking gown, her hair styled perfectly, and her posture regal. She walked with confidence, her head held high, and every step she took seemed to echo in Michael's ears. "Eliza," he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. "Meet my daughter, Princess Eliza," the king announced with pride. Michael felt the ground shift beneath him. His legs wobbled, and he clung to the edge of the table for support. "Princess?" he repeated, his mind racing. Veronica's eyes widened, and she looked between Michael and Eliza in shock. "What's going on?" she hissed. Eliza walked straight to her father, ignoring Michael entirely. She greeted him warmly, then finally turned to Michael with an expression that was a mixture of hurt and disappointment. "So, Michael," she said, her voice calm but cutting, "you must be surprised." Michael stammered, "Eliza, I didn't know. You never told me." "And why would I?" Eliza interrupted, her voice rising slightly. "I thought you were different. I thought you loved me for who I was, not for what I had." "Eliza, please. Let me explain," Michael pleaded. "I can explain everything." Eliza raised her hand, silencing him. "Explain? What is there to explain, Michael? You lied about who you were, you disrespected me, and you replaced me with her," she said, glancing at Veronica. Veronica, feeling the heat, stood up angrily. "Michael, what is this? You told me your wife was just some boring, simple woman. You never said she was the princess." She grabbed her purse and glared at him. "You're pathetic." With that, she stormed out of the room, leaving Michael humiliated. "Eliza, I'm sorry," Michael said desperately. "I made mistakes, but I can change. Please don't do this." Eliza's eyes filled with tears, but she stood firm. "I gave you everything, Michael. Every contract you've ever gotten, every opportunity. It was all me. I used my influence because I believed in you. But now I see I was wrong. You don't deserve it." She turned to her father and said, "Withdraw all the past contracts. I cannot trust him anymore." The king nodded, his expression grim. "Consider it done." Michael fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "Eliza, please. I'll do anything. I was a fool. I was blinded by my own pride. Give me one more chance." But Eliza shook her head, her heart breaking. "I loved you, Michael, but you took me for granted. You threw away the one person who truly cared about you. This is the consequence of your choices." As Michael sat there, broken and defeated, Eliza turned and walked out of the room, her dignity intact. For the first time, Michael realized the true meaning of love and loyalty and how he had destroyed it with his arrogance. Michael stumbled out of the palace, his mind spinning and his chest heavy with regret. The world around him seemed blurry, as if he had just woken up from a terrible nightmare, but this wasn't a dream, this was his reality. The life he had built, the success he had flaunted, the love he had betrayed. It was all gone. He sat in his car outside the palace gates, staring at the steering wheel, unable to move. The image of Eliza, standing tall and proud, revealing her true identity, played over and over in his mind. The pain in her eyes, the disappointment in her voice, and the weight of her words crushed him. "How could I have been so blind?" Michael whispered to himself, tears streaming down his face. When he finally drove home, it was to an empty house. Veronica was nowhere to be found, but her absence didn't bother him at first. He was too consumed by his thoughts of Eliza. The next morning, Michael noticed something strange. His wallet, which he had mistakenly left in his car, was missing. He checked the drawers, the closet, and even his car, but it was gone. "Veronica!" he shouted, his voice echoing through the house. But there was no reply. Panic set in as he checked his bank account. His savings, the little that remained after years of careless spending, were gone. No, this can't be happening," Michael gasped. He called Veronica's number repeatedly, but it was disconnected. She had taken everything he had left and disappeared without a trace. Michael sat on the floor, his head in his hands, as the realization hit him like a ton of bricks. He was broke. Over the next few weeks, Michael's life spiraled out of control. Without the contracts that Eliza had once secretly secured for him, his business collapsed. His employees left one by one as he failed to pay their salaries. His phone rang non-stop with calls from creditors demanding their money. Michael sold his car to cover his debts, then his furniture, and finally the house itself. The once proud man who had strutted through life with arrogance now found himself homeless. He wandered the streets, carrying a single tattered bag with the few belongings he had left. The nights were cold, and the days felt endless. He often sat on park benches, watching people walk by, wondering how his life had crumbled so quickly. One rainy evening, as Michael huddled under a bridge for shelter, he thought about Eliza. He remembered the way she had cared for him, the way she had supported his dreams, and the way she had loved him unconditionally. "How did I throw it all away?" he whispered to himself, his voice shaking with emotion. Michael thought of the nights he had left Eliza alone to be with other women. He remembered the cruel words he had said to her, calling her ugly and classless. And now here he was, with nothing. No money, no friends, and no one to love him. Michael continued to live on the streets for some time, but gradually he began to change. The man who had once been full of pride and arrogance started to understand the importance of humility. He realized that real success wasn't measured by how much money he had or how many people admired him. It was about integrity, love, and respect. This story teaches us that true success does not come from wealth or status, but from the relationships we build and the integrity we show. Betrayal and arrogance can destroy the most precious things in life, but humility, forgiveness, and self-reflection can lead to personal growth and redemption. It is important to appreciate what we have while we have it, because once it's gone, we may not get another chance. Dear viewers, if you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on notifications for more inspiring tales. Stay blessed